Watch the real-life program about exceptional destinies, remarkable opportunities, and unbelievable facts right now.
He fought against Japanese kamikazes and compiled the endangered list of animals and plants of Kazakhstan. He wrote over 200 scientific works and painted over 500 pictures. He's a botanist, naturalist, traveler, artist, and poet. Some people say they don't know how to spend their time. They call me and offer to go for a walk and communicate with each other, but I answer that I don't have time for that. They ask me, why? I say that I just don't have time. I need to finish various things. I'm out of time and must be able to draw the line.
Успеть надо, и время-то поджимает, я говорю, надо успеть подвести черту.
Ivan Ivanovich Roldugin is 90. He doesn't even dream about resting. For those who are over the age of 90, can you do it? The war disappeared in the past, so that they remember. I managed to show a part of my 500 works in my entrance hall. They included both oil and watercolor paintings. Those that are bundled together on the floor have just been brought from the exhibition. Ivan Roldugin had over 20 exhibitions. There are paints, brushes, and crayons. All his art gear is on the windowsill. However, there are priceless exhibits which are Pobeda paints. They smell like history itself. The deputy for army policy gave me these paints as a gift. They were with me all the time when I served in the army.
Вот эти краски. Я с ними прошел всю армию.
I made a simple box for them using an American mess tin. Later, I made a small fabric bag and always carried them in my pocket.
Эту тряпочную еще сделал, сумочку такую завязывал. Они у меня там были со мной в кармане.
He doesn't remember any artist in his family, but he started drawing in childhood. I didn't have brushes, so I used matches and plain wood after winding cotton around them.
Деревяшками выстроганными и вату наматывал.
This is Talgar, this is Bukhtama Altai, and this is Issyk Gorge. Here you can see the Altai and Beluga is in the background. He can't imagine his journeys without an easel, some paper, cardboard, and brushes. He wasn't interested only in beautiful scenes. Here you can see a destroyed coniferous forest near Semey and deforestation in the Tian Shan. His eyes always want to see living things and show them to others. I got up early. Everyone was still asleep in sleeping bags, but I was already working on a sketch. I tried to find half an hour to do something. I could do it in the evening too. Everyone was tired and had a rest, but I went to draw before it got dark.
Что-то взял, пошел, все, думаю, зафиксирую, пока еще светло.
I don't have free time when I'm either in the field or at home. I'm always busy. He does all the housework himself. However, he says he can forget what he's left of kettle on the stove because something else has distracted him. It's always been easy to attract his attention. As for morning exercise, it's necessary. Ivan Ivanovich managed to recover on his own after a severe hip injury. I do it up to 40 times. This is the last manuscript I'm working on. It's about a very interesting place where I had to work for many years. This area is called Tauchilik.
В одном очень интересном уголке, в котором мне пришлось многие годы работать, вот это район называется Таучилик.
I love fir trees. As a geobotanist and forestry scientist, I dedicated all my life to them. He knows everything about the classification of species and anthropogenic properties. As a botany professor, he studied fir trees to the tips of their needles. His works include monographs and pictures.
Пальцы касаются вот так, руки.
Your fingers touch like this. And now let's chop wood. One,
Ну, теперь, значит, самое, дрова рубить. Как раньше я тоже.
Coniferous forest protection is a sensitive subject for him. He continues to work against uncontrolled deforestation now.
Моя
I had a female friend who was like a fir tree in a forest. I can't forget that Ural fir tree.
ту елочку, Уралочку, забыть я не могу.
It's a wartime song. Ivan Ivanovich's eyes glitter when he says how they sang this song together at stopping places, how soldiers' fairy stories warmed them up and they dreamt of a peaceful life.
Подружка дорогая.
What's happened to you, my dear friend? You fell in love with a lieutenant and got confused about the days.
Когда соберу,
When soldiers gathered in the evenings, the stove was on. Foot bindings were drying and some of the soldiers talked about Chorkin. There were talkative people in the old days. Some were sharing jokes.
что травит? Кто-то про Теркина рассказывает, что-то в былые времена, то говоруны. Кто-то анекдоты травит.
Ivan was 15 when the war started. He was in Voronezh.
Мы в реку купались.
We were swimming in the river when our peer, who was from the town, ran up to us and told us about the war.
Говорит, ребята, война. Все как-то мы
We immediately felt older.
повзрослели. Нам дали.
They gave us Polish rifles, and we didn't leave the post at night.
И тогда
There were a lot of spies. There was even a poster saying, "Boy, I got lost. Tell me the way to the oil tank farm." They had to be afraid of saboteurs. Enemy aircraft attacked. They were often bombed because the junction was a strategic point. They helped people hide.
все время
The anti-aircraft guns shot at aircraft, bombs exploded, and the noise was horrible. All these factors affected our state of mind in the beginning, but later we got used to that.
ну, это первое время, а потом привыкли уже.
Then they started building fortifications, dug trenches and dugouts and prepared firing points. He says that they were young and weren't afraid of anything.
Вроде бы это игрушки, так казалось все это. Ну, интересно смотреть ночные налеты, авиации.
To us it looked like a game. It was interesting to watch the night air raids. Luminous flares hung from parachutes and illuminated the surface to show what objects bombs could be dropped on. It was a real show.
Какие объекты. Это такое зрелище было, оно вроде бы и красивое, и страшное. А вдруг на тебя бомба полетит. А куда ты
Ah, young boy, where are you going? You'd better not become a soldier, Vanyok.
Ванек, вот солдаты.
However, Vanyok joined the army voluntarily at the age of 17. He found himself in the communication field there. His drawing abilities turned out to be useful. He watched enemy aircraft trying to get to the home front.
Мы все марки.
We knew all the aircraft types. We could recognize them and reported to our command about it using appropriate channels.
Командованию.
They worked during the daytime and went to school, which hadn't been destroyed, in a nearby village. They knew that if they saw a reconnaissance aircraft flying by, it meant that the railways would be bombed soon.
Один раз на станции.
Once they lay in wait at the station. As soon as a special train carrying petrol tanks closer to the front arrived, a raid started.
Ближе к фронту. И на тебе пошли на лед. Разбивает.
The special train was destroyed. Petrol tanks exploded. It was so frightening. There were a lot of houses around, and
А Красная Армия.
the Red Army victoriously chased the uninvited guests back to the west. The lines of this poem about Stalingrad are a turning point in World War II. The war did not end for Roldugin on May the 9th. He was sent to the Far Eastern Front, where he was in a separate reconnaissance artillery battalion. He was engaged in doing topographic surveys and mapping suspected fortifications of the Japanese army. When we defeated the Japanese, we inspected these fortifications and found out there were micro-cities underground. There was a water tower, power station, and storehouses in these areas. In general, it was possible to live there without leaving.
Склады. В общем, там все было. Можно было жить и никуда не выходить.
Japanese saboteur departments were notorious for their cruelty. They positioned themselves well in the hill area and infiltrated the Soviet positions. They were called suicide bombers and flying detachments for their speed. We were sent to fight against these detachments. They sneaked up and got rid of the guard. They were skillful in this respect. After that, they started destroying the unit. Roldugin received a medal for courage for fighting suicide bomber detachments. And the campaign was finished in the Pacific Ocean. Path of Life, the first poetry collection by Ivan Ivanovich, was released in 2004 when he was 78. After that, the second, third, and fourth collections appeared. They have everything that preoccupied him. We have a club called Revival, and we gather there. There are 10 people who write poetry. Everybody reads their works and we discuss them. There I can show my talent.
И вот мы каждый читает, обсуждаем. Тут я уже себя показываю.
Once I was young.
Когда-то молодой.
After a shell shock, Ivan Roldugin was invalided out on medical grounds. His destiny lay in Almaty, where he celebrated New Year in 1946. My friend, an Almaty resident, advised me to go to Almaty. He said that there was a theater and art school and asked if I wanted to become an artist. He says how he found himself in the Remizovka subsidiary farm by lucky chance. However, it had already been broken up. Suddenly, forest managers appeared. I was wearing riding breeches and a soldier's blouse. They asked, "Soldier, where are you from? What do you do?" I answered I was a military topographer. "Ah, we need a topographer," they said. He covered all the mountain slopes and valleys near the city by horse. So I stayed here. What else could I do? I started painting carpets. I was fashionable to paint on blankets and hessian at that time. I painted and there were women who sold those works. Then I started studying, finished my education and found myself in university studying botany. People studied Kazakhstan's flora there and he drew. This is a collection of who is who among plants. Ivan Roldugin is mentioned as one of the compilers. He's a specialist in the study of flora and a system is to describe plants. First, I drew for them. I took part in expeditions, traveled every year, and I gained experience. Afterwards, I completed my postgraduate thesis, then doctoral thesis, and then I became a professor.
Кандидатскую защитил, потом докторскую защитил, потом профессором стал.
He's holding a book entitled Towards the Heart of Jungaria. It describes his recollections of the artist and naturalist about his first expedition. It was near the Koksu River in the Taldykorgan region in 1948. Then we climbed until we reached the glacier. Can you imagine what it's like to step on a glacier for the first time in your life? In the heart of Jungar Alatau, where the expanse and air are different, glacial water bubbles in the Great Koksu River. His life keeps bubbling now too. He goes to the Samotsveti Amateur Artist Club and a poetry club. Ivan Ivanovich is always present at the veterans' meetings. I haven't erected a monument to myself. However, I think that some people will read my works, look at my pictures, become thoughtful, and smile.
и картины создавал, задумается и улыбнется.